are many great things about being a furry in the UK. For one thing, we've got a fantastic furry scene here with like lots of meets and that, and there's some fantastic artists, there's some amazing fursuit makers, and just some, in general, amazing furries. But it's not all a walk in the park. Here are some things that kind of suck about being a furry in the UK. Having to figure out when people are awake or asleep can be quite awkward. For example, those of you who might live on the east coast of America, by the time you're getting up, it's sort of like lunchtime here and we're kind of halfway through a day, or maybe we're at work. It's always a little more awkward to talk. Granted, -5 isn't too bad. We can work without the evenings. You're generally afternoons. Sometimes, if we stay up a little bit late, you're kind of just finishing work, so we can actually still talk to you. But if you go over to, say, the west coast, where it's -8, it's crazy. If I get up at 6 in the morning, you haven't actually gone to bed yet. It's still the evening. And that's kind of crazy. It makes your head spin a little bit at first. But I suppose that has an advantage, is actually at that time you can still have a quick chat if you're awake enough and you've had a few coffees. And if you've got friends in Australia, it's even harder. I mean, we've got a friend in New Zealand, and talking to him can be quite complex. He always makes sure to wish us a Happy New Year about 13 hours before we get ours, so, But, yeah, time zones can be quite strenuous, but, I mean, this really does, I guess, apply to being a furry anywhere. So, you have to put up with, like, late nights, especially if you want to see, like, live streams and that sort of thing, because, they're always in the evening, like, US time, which makes sense, because that's where the artist is, or the game streamer is, but, it can mean a lot of late nights here, maybe 2 a.m. and that sort of thing, and you just got to make sure that there's lots of coffee available for you at work the next day, unless it's a weekend. So obviously now we get on to conventions, and as you'd expect, the UK is quite a small country. We don't have that many cons. We've got Confuzzled, we've got ScotiaCon, we've got Vacation, and of course we've got Just the Weekend. Obviously beyond that, there's meets and stuff, so that's nice. But obviously, compared to, say, America, there's a lot less. So there's a lot less choice, you have to be slightly more careful with your time off. But one good thing about there being slightly less cons is it's a little more concentrated, so there's a higher chance of meeting the people you really want to at the other cons. And they're all fantastic, I'm not going to lie. The con scene in the UK is amazing. Confuzzle just do such a great job of making a close-knit convention, and whilst 2,000-ish people might seem small compared to some of the ones in America, trust me, in a UK con that's quite a lot, and it's fantastic. So yeah, it's difficult. And of course, if you want to go to an American con, you have to consider airfare, you can't just drive, you have to worry about your luggage. We can obviously go to, like, European cons, that's easier. So you've got Nordic FuzzCon, Eurofurence, for example. You could drive to Eurofurence. Granted, low-cost airfares make it probably cheaper and easier to fly. So, at least we have those options. But, as far as it's going to American cons, you have to plan a lot more time off work. And, of course, you're always going to get the dreaded jet lag when you're coming home from them. Ugh, that's the worst. Shipping. Now, this does kind of drive me a bit nuts. It can be so expensive to send things to the UK, and I think this probably also applies to Europe in general. Not only have you got high costs, but it can take ages for something to arrive, even if you send it like express. I mean, I've had like 2 to 3 day FedEx stuff arrive maybe a week later. And that's after it's bounced around about 6 US states to get to me, and it is just really annoying. And the thing is, it can really, really push your bill up. I mean, for example, $80 item that I ordered recently, by the time I'd done shipping, it was looking at $120. And then when it arrived, 7 days later or so, comes the dreaded letter from FedEx. We want you to pay customs, tax and duty. This is always the worst bit. It's that one you didn't consider. Now, I don't mind. I completely agree that you've got to pay tax and everything else. I'm not saying you shouldn't. But what gets me with like FedEx and UPS is the same, and most couriers, is they tack on this admin charge. And FedEx wanted like £12 just for sending this letter to me. And it's that sort of thing that really starts to put the cost of stuff up and just makes shipping to the UK, in particular, really awkward. And yeah, it's an unfortunate fact of being a furry in the UK. We have to put up with it. But yeah, I mean, the good thing is the post service is quite secure, so, you know, your stuff's not that likely to go missing. It does, but, you know, it's a little bit more safe. But yeah, you've just got to expect long shipping times, and probably the worst example actually was I had a friend who sent me some Mexican candy. He sent it quite a quick service, and it took ages to get here. It must have got stopped by customs about 8 or 9 times before it arrived. You know, stereotypes and everything else included there, but yeah, shipping to the UK can be a nightmare as a furry. Currency. This is something that always gets me. You know, obviously a lot of the fandom does tend to trade in US dollars, and I get that we need kind of a universal currency. It's nice. It means you can kind of compare prices easily, especially like when you're shopping on big things, fursuits and such. And it's actually at a point where, you know, I've actually had artists in the UK charge me in US dollars just because it makes things easier for them. And I have no problem with that. Heck, you could charge me in South African rand, and I really wouldn't care. But what does annoy me about, like, just currency conversion in general is PayPal. And they just give you such an absolute shit rate of exchange. You know, you end up losing money your side, and then they stick on fees and that. And I mean, if I pay directly by card, my bank gives me a horrible surcharge, and even my, you know, my credit cards are just as bad, and it's just really annoying. And it's probably more a personal thing, and it's not really a criticism of the fandom or anything in general. It's just life, and you know, the cost of doing business, I guess you'd say. But yeah, it is a little bit annoying to just, you know, it makes ordering things that little bit more awkward because you don't know what it's going to cost until it comes on your bank statement. You can guess, but you know, I'm normally wrong by a couple of quid. And now, of course, something that I think a lot of fursuits in the UK probably know of is how much more complicated it can be to order a fursuit from a US maker than a UK one. You know, I mean, obviously not only have you got to factor in like shipping costs to you of the suit, and obviously any import taxes and the dreaded customs duty as well, which is going to easily add another 3 figures to the sum. But you know, you also have to factor in things like sending duct tape dummies over to them, and of course, if you need to get like your suit repaired or upgraded or fixed or something added to it, that's going to cost you shipping as well, and it's going to take time, so you're going to be without your fursuit for even longer. Now, of course, it's worth it if it's a fursuit maker that you really want. Choosing a fursuit maker is a very personal process, and it's very important to your character that you pick the one that works for you and the one you like. And I've got no problems with ordering from American ones. In fact, when I was looking for, you know, my last version of Shadow, I definitely considered some American ones. You know, but I mean, if you're not up for all that, there's, of course, fantastic options in the UK. That's definitely not worth missing out on. My suit, for example, comes from Made by Mercury, the UK maker. It comes with all the benefits of quick shipping and everything else like that. Of course, it means you get to kind of probably see more of your fursuit maker's suits around you because they're UK based. You know, but obviously if you've got a heart set on ordering from like an American one, you know, you do have to obviously put up with the awkwardness of doing so, and you know, maybe pick one that tailors the suits instead of duct tape dummies. That's going to speed things up a little bit and make it easier for you. But you know, you can't get over the fact that it is just a little more awkward to order a fursuit in the UK. And of course, finally, I couldn't do anything about Britain and the UK without talking about weather, that favourite topic of ours. You know, yeah, our weather's not fantastic. It does rain quite a lot here. It rains like 100 and something days a year on average in London. Yes, I know you people in like Seattle are probably saying, well, it rains more here. True. Obviously, you know, that does put a bit of a, you know, quandary into fursuiting. You have to consider, is it going to rain today? Am I going to go wet? If it is raining, do you still even bother going out in suit? You know, it's risky. And of course, it just makes photos look a little bit more gloomy. Of course, unless you've got like a horror suit, I guess. That could work. Yeah, so, you know, you have to consider that. And even when it's not raining, if it's bright, sunny and really hot, we're not very big on air conditioning. A lot of places in the UK don't have it at all. Houses, for example, generally don't. And, you know, even if you go somewhere with air conditioning, like a hotel, often it's not up to the standards of like an American air conditioning, which is fantastic for the record. You guys really get air conditioning right. You know, so it actually makes fursuiting very hard because it just gets so much hotter because we're just not geared up for heat, and especially not heat and plus people wearing fur. So always awkward. But, you know, on the upside, we do get some nice bright clear days. If you're lucky and you live in the right part of the UK, you'll get a little bit of snow, so you can still get your snow photos. Not quite the same as, like, I don't know, living in Canada, where you're probably going to get a lot more snow. But, yeah, our seasons are kind of short enough that, you know, there's ample opportunities to suit and not get wet. But, you know, and heck, even some of the best fur meets I've been to have actually been in the rain, so the rain's not always a bad thing. It just damages your fursuit. You don't want that. So there we go. That's some of the things that I think suck about, you know, being a furry in the UK. You know, we have our own problems. Quite frankly, I enjoy being a furry in the UK. It's well located, we've got good cons, and I've met some awesome people here, and, you know, I have a lot of fun at the local fur meets for me. So, you know, still, I'd love to know what things suck about being a furry where you are. Let me know, drop a comment below. I'd love to check that out. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, or consider supporting me on Patreon. I've got a link in the description below. I'm Lew The Raccoon, and I'll see you next time. Bye!